The lights in Nexus Station's challenge arena burned bright and hot. Captain Lee Taman stood in the center of the circular floor, looking up at thousands of alien faces staring down at him. The arena was huge, built into the heart of the trading station where different species came to settle their problems the old way. Taman did not want to be here. He wanted to be back on his ship, the Horizon's Edge, loading cargo and preparing for the next jump to Earth. But the Vorthak had other plans. The Vorthak were tall reptile creatures with scales that looked like green crystal. They stood on two, legs like humans, but they were much bigger and much stronger. Their leader, War Prime Kethmore, sat in the special viewing box reserved for important visitors. His yellow eyes never left Taman. The whole mess started 3 hours ago in Docking Bay 7. Taman's crew was trying to buy rare metals from the Vorthak. The price was fair, the paperwork was correct, and everyone seemed happy. Then Kethmore found out that humans had been trading the same metals to the Vorthak's enemies. "You make us look weak," Kethmore had said, his voice like rocks grinding together. "You sell to us, then you sell to those who fight us. This is not honor." Taman tried to explain that human traders sold to everyone. It was just business. Humans did not pick sides in alien wars, but Kethmore did not care about business. He cared about honor. "We challenge you," the War Prime declared. "Combat trial. Your strongest beast against ours. Winner takes all." Now Taman stood in the arena, waiting. He looked up at the observation deck and saw Park Nari watching him. She was his chief biologist and his oldest friend. They had known each other since they were children on Earth. Her face was calm, but he could see worry in her dark eyes. The arena floor was made of some kind of gray metal that could take a lot of damage. Scorch marks and claw scratches covered its surface from old fights. High above, force fields kept the watching crowd safe from whatever happened below. "Bring forth the Render's Maw," Kethmore shouted. The crowd went quiet. Even the other alien species who had no love for the Vorthak seemed nervous. Taman heard someone whisper, "Render's Maw," in a scared voice. A large door opened on the far side of the arena. Heavy footsteps echoed from the dark tunnel beyond. The footsteps got louder and closer. The crowd held its breath. The creature that came out of the tunnel was a nightmare. It stood 12 feet tall on 6 powerful legs. Its body was covered in black scales that seemed to drink in the arena lights. Long claws scraped against the metal floor as it walked. Its head was huge, with a mouth full of teeth like broken glass. Acid dripped from its jaws and hissed when it hit the floor. The Render's Maw looked around the arena with small red eyes. It saw Taman and made a sound like a roar mixed with a scream. The sound made several aliens in the crowd cover their ears. "This is our apex beast," Kethmore announced. "The greatest predator from our home world. Nothing can stand against it. Now show us yours, human, or admit your weakness." Taman looked at the massive creature. Its claws were longer than his arms. Its teeth could bite through ship armor. Its hide could stop energy weapons. Any normal human would run or surrender. Instead, Taman started to laugh. The sound was strange in the arena. It echoed off the walls and mixed with the creature's growling. The aliens in the crowd looked confused. Some had never heard human laughter before. Others wondered if fear had made Taman lose his mind. Taman's laughter got louder. He bent over, holding his sides. Tears ran down his face. The Render's Maw stopped moving and tilted its head, confused by this small creature that was not running. Away! You mock our sacred trial? Kethmore roared from his viewing box. You laugh at death? Taman wiped his eyes and looked up at the war prime. Sorry, he said, still smiling. It's just that you called that thing your apex beast. It is the greatest killer on our world, another Vorthak warrior said. I'm sure it is, Taman replied. It looks very dangerous. But you asked me to bring my apex beast. He reached for the communication device on his belt. The crowd watched as he pressed a button and spoke into it. Nari, would you mind calling Bomi? Up in the observation deck, Park Nari smiled for the first time since the challenge began. She activated her own communicator. Kim Bomi, please report. To the challenge arena, she said. You're needed. The aliens in the crowd looked at each other. They expected humans to bring out some kind of weapon or war machine. Instead, the human captain was calling for someone named Bomi. Dr. Choi Hwan, the station's chief medical officer, leaned forward in his seat. He was human, but he had lived on Nexus Station for many years. He knew that Earth sent strange people to work in space, but something about the captain's calm smile made him nervous. Who is Bomi? Asked Merchant Han Do-young, a Korean trader who worked the Outer Rim routes. I don't know, Dr. Choi replied, but I think we're about to find out. The Rendersmaw paced back and forth, waiting for something to fight. Its acid saliva left smoking holes in the arena floor. The crowd could smell the sharp burning scent even through the force fields. Kethmore stood up in his viewing box. Where is your beast, human? We grow tired of waiting. Taman checked his watch. She'll be here soon. Bomi doesn't like to rush. Door opened near the human section of the arena. Footsteps echoed from the tunnel, but these were different from the heavy stomping of the Rendersmaw. These were light, quiet, almost careful. The footsteps got closer. The crowd watched the tunnel entrance, expecting to see some kind of monster. Instead, a young Korean woman walked out into the arena lights. Kim Bomi looked perfectly ordinary. She was in her 20s, with short black hair and dark eyes. She wore simple work clothes and carried what looked like a small electronic device. She had no weapons, no armor, and no obvious enhancements. The crowd fell silent. Several aliens made confused sounds. The Vorthak warriors looked at each other with disbelief. This is a joke, Kethmore said. You send a female to face our apex beast? Bomi walked across the arena floor toward Taman. Her steps were smooth and quiet. She moved like water flowing over rocks. When she reached the captain, she bowed slightly. You called, Captain? She asked in a soft voice. We have a small problem, Taman replied, pointing at the Rendersmaw. The Vorthak want to see our apex beast. Bomi looked at the massive creature. It snarled at her, showing its terrible teeth. Acid dripped from its claws. Its red eyes focused on her small form. She nodded once. I understand. Then she started walking toward the monster, and everything changed. Kim Bomi walked toward the Rendersmaw like she was taking a stroll through a garden. The massive creature watched her approach, its 6 legs shifting as it prepared to attack. Acid dripped from its mouth and made small holes in the arena floor. The crowd above held its breath. Engineer Yu Jisu from the human crew gripped the railing of the observation deck. Security Chief Lim Junho moved closer to the force field controls, ready to act if things went wrong. This is madness, whispered Communications Officer Baek Minji. She's going to get killed. But Dr. Choi Hwan noticed something the others missed. Bomi's breathing had changed. It was deeper now, more controlled. Her shoulders relaxed and her steps became even smoother. She moved like a dancer, but there was something else underneath. Something that made the hair on his arms stand up. War Prime. Kethmore stood in his viewing box, his crystal scales flashing with anger. "You insult us!" he roared down at Captain Taman. "This is no beast. This is just a small human female." Taman smiled up at him. "You asked for our apex beast. You didn't ask what it looked like." The Render Small lowered its massive head and snarled at Bomi. She was now close enough that it could reach her with one swipe of its claws. The creature's muscles tensed. Its red eyes locked onto her. Then Bomi did something that made the entire arena go quiet. She closed her eyes. Standing 3 feet away from a monster that could tear her apart, Kim Bomi closed her eyes and took a deep breath. The small device in her hand began to glow with a soft blue light. "What is that thing?" asked Merchant Han Do-young, pointing at the device. Engineer Yu Ji-soo answered without taking her eyes off the arena floor. "Bioresonance communicator. It sends signals across space using quantum entanglement." "Signals to what?" Dr. Choi asked. Jisoo's face was pale. "To whatever Bomi bonded with when she was young." The device in Bomi's hand began to pulse. The blue light got brighter and started to spread. Soon her entire body was surrounded by a soft glow that hurt to look at directly. The Rendersmaw stepped back. For the first time since entering the arena, the massive predator seemed uncertain. It could sense something changing, something that its animal instincts didn't understand. Bomi opened her eyes. They were still dark brown, still perfectly human, but now they held something ancient and patient. When she spoke, her voice carried across the entire arena without effort. "Hanu," she said softly. "I need you." The word meant sky in Korean, but when Bomi said it, the sound seemed to echo from places that didn't exist. The arena's walls vibrated. Several aliens in the crowd covered their ears as a low humming filled the air. Captain Taman activated his communicator. "All crew, prepare for quantum resonance. This might get interesting." Ambassador Oh Suman, who had been watching from the diplomatic section, suddenly stood up. Her face was white with shock. She knew what Bomi was, but she had never seen one actually make contact before. "Impossible," she whispered. "They said the bonds were just stories." The humming sound got louder. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. The Rendersmaw backed against the arena wall, its red eyes wide with confusion and growing fear. High above in the station's control room, alarms began to sound. "What's happening?" demanded Station Commander Vextar, a blue-skinned Centauri with 4 arms. "Unknown energy readings," reported his sensor operator. "Something's coming through space. It's big." "How big?" "Very big, sir. And it's moving fast. Faster than anything should be able to move." Back in the arena, Bomi's glow was now so bright that shadows danced on the walls. The device in her hand pulsed with energy that made the air itself seem alive. She stood perfectly still, her mind reaching across the vast emptiness between stars. The quantum signal traveled through space-time, following paths that normal matter could never use. It crossed light years in seconds, moving through dimensions that had no names. Far away, something ancient and patient received the call and answered. The station's long-range sensors went wild. Every screen in the control room flashed red as something impossible appeared on their displays. "Sir," the sensor operator said, his voice shaking, "there's something out there. It's organic, but it's huge. 300 meters long at least. And it's moving without any kind of propulsion we can detect." Commander Vextar stared at the readings. That's impossible. Nothing living can survive in open space. Tell that to whatever's coming our way. In the arena, the humming reached a peak that made several aliens faint. The render's maw pressed itself against the wall, whimpering like a scared animal. Its acid saliva had stopped flowing. Its claws scratched uselessly at the metal floor as it tried to back away from something it couldn't see but could feel approaching. Bomi opened her mouth and spoke again, but now her voice seemed to come from the walls themselves. "Old friend," she said, "these people want to see an apex beast. Will you show them what Earth really breeds?" The answer came as a feeling more than words. Every person in the arena suddenly understood, without knowing how, that something vast and ancient was coming. Something that made the render's maw look like a tiny insect. The station's shields began to flicker. Whatever was approaching didn't care about force fields or energy barriers. It moved through them like they weren't there. War Prime Kethmore sat down heavily in his chair. His crystal scales had lost their bright color and now looked dull and gray. "What have you done?" he whispered. Captain Taman looked up at him. "You wanted to see our apex beast. Be careful what you wish for." The arena's main doors suddenly burst open. Not the doors that led to the tunnels, but the massive outer doors that faced open space. Cold air rushed in, but it carried something else with it. A presence that made everyone in the arena feel very small and very young. Through the opening came something that should not exist. Hanul was beautiful and terrible at the same time. Its body was longer than most ships, covered in scales that seemed to shift between different colors and different dimensions. It had no visible eyes, but everyone could feel it looking at them. It moved through the air like it was swimming through water, but there was no water there. The creature filled the arena opening, its massive form coiling around the station's outer hull like a cosmic serpent. When it finally spoke, the words bypassed language entirely and went straight into every mind present. "You called, little sister?" Bomi smiled and reached up to touch the part of Hanul that had entered the arena. Her small hand looked tiny against the creature's scales. "They wanted to see what humans call their apex beast," she said. Hanul's attention turned to the render's maw, which was now whimpering in the corner. The cosmic serpent's presence filled the arena with an energy that made the air taste like lightning and starlight. "This small thing?" Hanul asked, amusement coloring its mental voice. "This is what they considered dangerous?" The render's maw, the greatest predator from the Vorthak homeworld, had curled into a ball and was making small, frightened sounds. "Be gentle," Bomi said. They didn't know any better. Hanul's vast intelligence considered this. Very well, but they should understand what they have awakened. The creature's mental voice expanded to fill every mind in the arena and beyond. Throughout Nexus Station, every alien suddenly heard the same message. You have met the children of Earth. Now you have met their guardians. Remember this moment. Remember it well. The arena fell silent except for the quiet whimpering of the render's maw. The massive predator that had terrified entire worlds was now hiding in the corner like a frightened pet. Its red eyes darted between Bomi and the impossible creature that filled the arena opening. Hanul's presence changed everything. The air itself seemed thicker, charged with energy that made everyone's skin tingle. The lights flickered as the station's power systems struggled to adapt to forces they were never designed to handle. War Prime Kethmore stared at the cosmic serpent with his mouth open. His crystal scales had turned completely gray, a sign of shock among his people. Other Vorthak warriors in the viewing boxes were backing away from the force fields, even though they knew the barriers would protect them. "What is that thing?" whispered Security Chief Lim Junho. Dr. Choi Hwan was taking readings with a medical scanner, but the device kept giving him error messages. "The sensors can't process it," he said. "It's like trying to measure infinity." Captain Taman walked closer to Bomi and Hanaul. His steps echoed in the now quiet arena. "How long has it been, old friend?" he asked. Hanaul's attention turned to him, and Taman felt the weight of a mind older than human civilization examining him. "Time moves differently for us, young captain. But I remember when you were small and Bomi first called my name." The crowd listened in amazement as the human captain spoke casually with a creature that defied every law of physics they knew. "Engineer." Yu Jisoo was recording everything on her personal device, knowing that no one back on Earth would believe this without proof. "Tell them," Taman said. "Tell them what humans really are." Hanaul's massive form shifted, scales catching light that came from no source the aliens could identify. "Very well. But some truths are heavy burdens." The cosmic serpent's mental voice expanded again, reaching every corner of the station. In the control room, Commander Vextar and his crew stopped what they were doing and listened. In the docking, Bay's alien merchants and their crews fell silent. Throughout Nexus Station, thousands of beings heard the same story. "Long ago, before your species learned to make fire, we traveled between the stars. We were few, but we were old, and we were patient. We had seen civilizations rise and fall. We had watched worlds bloom with life and die in silence." Ambassador. Oh Suman closed her eyes and felt tears running down her cheeks. She had read the classified files, but hearing it spoken aloud made it real in a way that data never could. "We found a small blue world circling a yellow star. It was young and wild, full of life that had not yet learned to think. We saw potential there. We saw something worth nurturing." The Render's maw had stopped whimpering and was now listening like everyone else. Even a predator could recognize when something much larger was speaking. "We chose a species of primates that showed promise. They were clever with their hands. They made tools. They cared for their young even when it cost them dearly. Most importantly, they could form bonds that lasted beyond death." Merchant Han Do-young gripped the railing so hard. His knuckles turned white. "You're saying humans didn't evolve naturally?" "Evolution is natural," Hanaul replied. "We simply guided it in directions that would serve both species. We gave them the ability to reach across space and time with their minds. We taught them to form connections that matter more than distance or dimension." Bomi smiled and stroked Hanaul's scales. The touch looked gentle, but everyone could feel the power flowing between them. "Not all humans can do what I do," she said, "but all humans carry the potential." "The potential for what?" asked Dr. Choi. "To call us," Hanaul answered. "To reach across the void and touch minds that exist beyond your understanding of space and time. We bonded with them when they were children. We watched them grow. We guided their species toward the stars." Communications Officer Beck Minji had been recording everything on the station's official channels. Her hands shook as she realized what this meant for galactic politics. "How many of you are there?" "Enough," was all Hanaul said. War Prime Kethmore finally found his voice. "Why?" he asked. "Why did you choose humans? Why not us? Why not the Centauri or the Melody or any other species?" Hanaul's attention turned to the Vorthak leader. and Kethmore felt the full weight of the ancient creature's gaze. Because you conquer, the Centauri accumulate, the Melody analyze, humans bond. What does that mean? Another alien called out. Watch, Hanul said. The cosmic serpent's mental touch reached out to every human in the arena. Captain Taman, Dr. Choi, Ambassador Osuman, and the crew of the Horizon's Edge all felt the same warm presence in their minds. It wasn't intrusive or demanding. It was patient and kind, like a parent checking on sleeping children. Every human carries this potential, Hanul explained to the watching aliens. Some, like Bomi, learn to use it fully. Others feel it only as intuition or dreams, but it is always there, connecting them to us and to each other across any distance. Engineer, Yujisu gasped as she felt the connection activate in her own mind. For just a moment, she could sense her crewmates as clearly as if they were standing next to her. She could feel their emotions, their thoughts, their deep love for each other and their ship. This is why humans work so well together, she whispered. This is why we can trust each other across vast distances. Correct, Hanil said. Your species learned long ago that survival depends not on individual strength, but on the strength of connections between individuals. We simply made those connections stronger and more flexible. The render's maw had crept closer during the explanation. Now it was looking at Bomi with something like curiosity instead of hunger. She noticed and walked over to the massive predator. It's all right, she told the creature. You're just meeting family you didn't know you had. The beast lowered its huge head, and Bomi gently touched its snout. For a moment, the arena was filled with the strangest sight any of them had ever seen. A small human woman comforting a monster while a cosmic serpent watched with something like pride. Your apex beast is magnificent, Bomi told the Vorthak. It's strong and fast and perfectly designed for its world. But it was made to fight and survive. Humans were made to connect and grow. War Prime Kethmore stood up slowly. His scales were starting to regain some of their color. The challenge, he said. What happens now? Captain Taman looked up at him. That's up to you. You can declare the fight over or... He gestured to Hanul, whose vast form still filled the arena opening. Or we can see how your apex beast handles ours. The render's maw looked at Hanul and made a sound that might have been laughter or terror. Then it did something that shocked everyone present. It lay down on the arena floor and rolled onto its back, exposing its vulnerable belly to the cosmic serpent. I believe, said War Prime Kethmore quietly, that our apex beast has just surrendered. Hanul's mental laughter filled the arena like warm sunshine. Wisdom often looks like surrender to those who value only strength. The formal challenge was over. But as the crowd began to disperse and the aliens started the long process of reconsidering everything they thought they knew about humans, one question hung in the air. If Bomi was just one human with this ability, and if all humans carried the potential for such connections, what did that mean for the galaxy? Ambassador Osuman activated her communicator and began composing a message to Earth. The peaceful trading mission had just become something much larger and much more important. Humanity's secret was out. Now came the hard part. Figuring out what to do next. The arena had become the center of the galaxy's attention. News of what happened spread through Nexus Station like wildfire. Alien diplomats who had been conducting routine business were now crowding into observation areas trying to catch a glimpse of the impossible creature that had answered a human's call. Hanul remained coiled around the station's outer hull, its massive form visible through the transparent walls. The cosmic serpent's scales shifted through colors that had no names, sometimes appearing solid, sometimes seeming to fade into the space between dimensions. Dr. Shin Kangmin, the station's chief xenobiologist, had arrived with a team of scientists from 12 different species. They pointed instruments at Hanul and shook their heads in confusion as their readings made no sense. The creature exists in multiple dimensions simultaneously, Dr. Shin reported to Commander Vextar. It's not just living in space, it's living in space-time itself. In the arena, Bomi sat cross-legged next to the surrendered render's maw, gently stroking its massive head. The predator that had terrified civilizations was now purring like a giant cat. Its acid saliva had stopped flowing, and its red eyes had become calm and peaceful. "How is she doing that?" asked War Prime Kethmore. The Vorthak leader had come down to the arena floor, his pride wounded, but his curiosity stronger than his embarrassment. "Captain," Taman knelt beside Bomi and the creature. "She's not doing anything special. She's just being herself." "I don't understand." "Humans are social creatures," Bomi explained without looking up from the render's maw. "We evolved to calm aggressive animals, to make peace between hostile groups, to find common ground where others see only conflict. Your beast isn't evil, it's just scared and far from home." The render's maw made a soft rumbling sound and closed its eyes as Bomi continued to pet it. Engineer Yu Jisoo was still recording everything. "Captain, Earth needs to know about this. The implications are enormous." "I know," Taman replied. "But let's finish here first." Hanul's mental voice touched everyone in the arena. "There are things you should understand about the relationship between our species and yours. The cosmic serpent's head, larger than most spacecraft, moved closer to the arena opening. Its presence filled the space with energy that made the air taste like starlight and ancient wisdom. When we first found humans, they were afraid of everything. They lived in small groups, constantly fighting for survival. But they had something we had never seen before in all our travels between the stars." Ambassador Oh Soo-min leaned forward. "What was that?" "Hope," Hanul replied. No matter how dark their situation became, humans never stopped believing that tomorrow could be better than today. They sacrificed themselves for children they would never see grow up. They shared food when they were starving. They told stories around fires to keep each other's spirits alive. Security Chief Lim Junho felt tears in his eyes as the ancient creature's memories washed over him. He could see early humans huddled around fires, telling stories to frighten children, while predators prowled in the darkness outside. "We were old and tired," Hanul continued. "We had seen too much death, too much failure. Humans taught us that hope is not foolishness. It is the most powerful force in the universe." "So you decided to help them evolve?" asked Dr. Choi. "We decided to learn from them. The bonding ability we gave them was something we needed as much as they did. Through our connection with humans, we remembered what it felt like to believe in the future." Communications Officer Bayek Minji was frantically taking notes. "How many humans have this bonding ability?" "All of them," Hanul said simply. "Every human carries the potential. Most never develop it fully, but it influences everything they do. It's why humans can work together across vast distances. It's why they trust strangers. It's why they form families with people who share no blood with them." War Prime Kethmore looked around the arena. Are you saying that every human can call creatures like you? Not exactly, Bomi answered. The full bonding happens rarely. Maybe one human in a million develops it completely. But the partial connection exists in everyone. She stood up and walked to where Captain Taman was standing. Show them, Captain. Taman looked confused. Show them what? How you knew I could handle this situation. How you knew to call me instead of someone else. Understanding dawned on Taman's face. The feeling. I just knew you were the right person to call. That's the connection working, Bomi explained to the watching aliens. Humans call it intuition or instinct, but it's really the bonding ability, operating at a low level. It helps them choose the right person for each situation. Merchant Han Do-young was staring at the human crew with new understanding. That's why human trading crews work so well together. That's why they can trust each other with their lives. Exactly, Hanul confirmed. They are connected in ways your species cannot imagine. What you see as individual humans are really parts of a larger whole, connected across any distance by bonds stronger than gravity. The Rendersmaw had gotten to its feet and was now nuzzling Bomi's shoulder with its massive head. The sight of the deadly predator acting like a gentle pet made several aliens step back nervously. Your beast is magnificent, Bomi told War Prime Kethmore. It's perfectly designed for its purpose, but it was created to be alone, to be the ultimate individual. Hunter, humans were designed to be together. What does this mean for the rest of us? Asked Commander Vextar over the communication system. What does this mean for galactic civilization? Hanil's attention turned to the station commander. It means you have been living next to a species whose true nature you never understood. Humans are not just another technological civilization. They are the children of beings who exist beyond your current understanding of reality. Are there others like you? Dr. Shin asked, his scientific curiosity overcoming his fear. Many others, Hanul replied. We exist throughout the galaxy, usually in deep space or in dimensions you cannot access. Most of the time we sleep or contemplate the movement of stars. But when our bonded humans call, we answer. Ambassador Osuman felt a chill run down her spine. How many humans are bonded like Bomi? On Earth, perhaps 1,000 with full bonding ability. Throughout human space, maybe a few hundred more. Each one can call upon beings like me when the need is great. The implications hit everyone at the same time. The galaxy had been treating humanity as a minor trading species, but they were actually the children of cosmic entities that existed beyond normal space and time. This changes everything, whispered engineer Yu Jizu. Yes, Hanul agreed. It does. The question now is what you will do with this knowledge. War Prime Kethmore stepped forward. His crystal scales had returned to their normal bright green color. The challenge is over. We concede defeat, but I have a question for you, human. He looked directly at Captain Taman. If your people have this power, why do you still trade with us as equals? Why not conquer us as we would conquer others? Taman smiled. Because conquest breaks bonds. It destroys connections. Humans are strongest when everyone around them is also strong. Besides, Bomi added, scratching the Rendersmaw behind what might have been ears, why would we want to conquer you when we can be friends instead? The massive predator made a happy, rumbling sound and leaned into her touch. Hanul's mental laughter filled the arena once more. This is why we chose them. This is why they were worth our time and attention. They could have the power to rule the galaxy, but they would rather make it a better place for everyone. as the cosmic serpent prepared to return to the depths of space. One last message echoed through every mind in the station. Remember this day. Remember that humans are more than they appear. And remember that they choose to be your friends when they could easily be your masters. 3 hours later, the arena was empty except for a few maintenance workers cleaning up the acid burns left by the render's maw. But throughout Nexus Station, emergency meetings were being held in every embassy and trading office. Ambassador O. Suman sat in the human diplomatic quarters, surrounded by alien ambassadors who had never paid much attention to her before. Now they hung on her every word. "How long have you known?" asked Ambassador Kreltar of the Centauri Federation. Her blue skin had turned pale with shock. "The full truth?" "Only a few hours longer than you," Suman replied honestly. "We knew some humans had unusual abilities. We knew there were old stories about humans bonding with mysterious beings. But we thought they were just stories." "Stories," repeated Ambassador Vorthak Prime Kessmore, War Prime Kethmore's diplomatic cousin. "Your people have been hiding the fact that they are connected to cosmic entities, and you call them stories?" Suman shook her head. "We weren't hiding anything. Most humans don't know about the full extent of the bonding ability. Earth's government has files about unusual individuals like Bomi, but we thought they were just humans with rare talents. In the medical bay, Dr. Choi Hwan was running tests on Captain Taman and his crew. The results were fascinating and terrifying at the same time. Your brain patterns are unlike anything I've ever seen," he told Engineer Yu Jisoo as she lay in the scanner. "There are neural pathways that shouldn't exist, structures that look like they're designed for communication across vast distances. Can you tell how many humans have these structures?" asked Communications Officer Bayek Minji. "That's the interesting part," Dr. Choi replied. "All of you have them. Some are more developed than others, but they're present in every human brain I've scanned." Captain Taman sat up on his examination table. "What does that mean?" "It means every human is potentially capable of some level of bonding with these cosmic entities. Most will never develop the ability fully, but the potential is always there." Meanwhile, in Docking Bay 7, Kim Bomi was saying goodbye to the Render's Maw. The massive predator had become surprisingly gentle, following her around like an enormous pet. War Prime Kethmore watched in amazement as his people's greatest weapon acted like a friendly dog. "Will it stay this way?" he asked. "Probably not," Bomi replied, scratching the creature's snout one last time. "When it gets back to familiar territory, it will remember what it is. But it will also remember this feeling of peace. Maybe next time it encounters something strange, it will try understanding before attacking." The Render's Maw made a soft rumbling sound and gently bumped Bomi with its head. Then it turned and walked back toward the Vorthak transport ship, moving more slowly than before. "You have changed my people's greatest weapon into something different," Kethmore observed. "I didn't change it," Bomi said. "I just showed it that not everything strange is dangerous. Sometimes strange things are friends you haven't met yet." In the station's main conference room, representatives from dozens of species were trying to figure out what this revelation meant for galactic politics. "If humans can call upon beings like that cosmic serpent," said Trade Minister Vox of the Melody Consortium, "then every military calculation we've ever made is worthless." "How many of these entities are there?" demanded General Thrax of the Saurian Empire. "How powerful are they? Are they a threat to the rest of us?" Ambassador Suman stood to address the room. "Based on what we learned today, these beings exist throughout the galaxy. They've been here longer than any of our civilizations. They're Not a threat to anyone unless you threaten their bonded humans. And how are we supposed to know which humans are bonded? Asked Minister Vox. You're not, Suman replied calmly. That's the point. Treat all humans with respect, and you'll never have to worry about it. The room erupted in angry voices, but Suman held up her hand for silence. Let me be clear about something. Humans don't want to rule the galaxy. We want to trade with you, learn from you, and share what we know. The bonding ability exists to protect us and to help us maintain connections across vast distances. It's not a weapon. But it could be used as one, General Thrax pointed out. So could your claws, Suman replied. So could Centauri technology. So could Melody mathematics. Everything can be a weapon if you choose to use it that way. Humans choose not to. Back on the horizon's edge, Captain Taman was filing his report to Earth. The words felt inadequate for what had happened. Command, this is Captain Lee Taman of the merchant vessel Horizon's Edge. I am reporting a first contact situation of unprecedented significance. We have confirmed that the old stories about human bonding abilities are true. Furthermore, we have made contact with a cosmic entity that claims to be one of many such beings throughout the galaxy. He paused, trying to figure out how to explain the rest. The entity, which calls itself Haniul, claims that humans were guided in their evolution by these beings. All humans possess some level of bonding ability, though most never develop it fully. The implications for human society and Galactic politics are enormous. Engineer Yuji Su knocked on his cabin door. Captain, you should see this. She handed him a data pad showing sensor readings from the past few hours. Look at the quantum signature patterns. They're all over the galaxy. Taman studied the data. What am I looking at? Responses, Jisoo said quietly. When Hanul called out to the station, the signal spread throughout space, and things answered. Hundreds of things, maybe thousands. Are you saying there are hundreds of those cosmic serpents out there? I'm saying there are hundreds of something out there, and they all know about what happened here today. The implications hit Taman like a physical blow. If the galaxy was full of cosmic entities bonded to humans, then humanity wasn't just another trading species. They were the representatives of beings older and more powerful than any government or empire. Send a priority message to Earth, he told Jisoo. Tell them everything. Tell them the galaxy is about to change and we need to be ready. 3 days later, the first official response arrived from Earth. It was brief and to the point. Message received and understood. Special diplomatic teams are being assembled. New protocols are being developed for human-alien relations, all merchant. Crews are advised to maintain normal operations while avoiding any situations that might require unusual assistance. The President wants to meet with Kim Bomi as soon as possible. Captain Taman smiled as he read the message. He could imagine the chaos in Earth's government buildings as politicians and military leaders tried to figure out how to handle the fact that humans were apparently the junior partners in a relationship with cosmic entities. What are you thinking about? Asked Park Nari, entering the bridge. I'm thinking about how quiet space used to be, Taman replied. Now every time I look at the stars, I wonder which ones have our friends sleeping nearby. Does it worry you? Taman considered the question. No. It makes me feel less alone. Throughout the galaxy, other humans were discovering that they weren't as alone as they had thought either. On remote mining stations, in deep space exploration ships, in trading posts on the edge of known space, humans were beginning to feel something they had never felt before. They were feeling watched over. And in the deep spaces between stars, ancient beings that had slept for millennia were beginning to stir. having heard their children's call across the void. The galaxy would never be the same. But then again, perhaps it was never meant to stay the same forever. Humanity had introduced themselves to the galaxy as traders and explorers. Now the galaxy was learning that they were something much more, the beloved children of beings older than worlds, connected by bonds stronger than gravity and deeper than space itself. The age of human isolation was over. The age of true galactic community was about to begin.